Hey, Nazu here. So this is going to be part 1 of the series I started last night. What if what if My Hero Academia was kind of like One Piece? In the last part, I ended it with well, Deku getting uh, well, the cursed blade. Well, 2 swords that are 3rd ranks, and 1 sword that is 2nd rank. Like I kind of said, yes, Deku has ranked swords, which are better than normal swords. But right now, because he's strong and does have some techniques. But Deku, for him right now, the swords are basically just swords with more weight and strength behind them. Harder to break than a normal sword, and weighs a lot more as well. He'll need to train to get more techniques and increase his capacity with the sword. Like I said, he has, well, both him and Bakugo have all 3 types of haki, but only to a minimum. Basically, the man who trained them, who was really old, so basically he was nowhere near his strength from when he was younger. They were close to his strengths, and in all reality, he's close to some heroes in terms of strength, but nowhere near some of the good ones. Together, they're able to fight against him and almost win, but that's only because of their teamworks. Now, since the debt was paid, and that if they want to keep training with him, they would have to pay, they went back to training on their own or together, with Deku deciding to try and create different techniques. For now, in the next about 6 months, he made 2 for each sword style. 1 sword style, 2 sword style, and 3 sword style, basically. He has 2 for each of them. They're not some of the super strong moves Zoro has, but Deku is pretty much, well, up there in terms of strength when it comes to swordsmanship. Simply because of the added, 2 more blades. It's basically harder for a swordsman with, less blade than him to fight, since he can basically block them and still attack, but he's not one of the best yet. So, after a lot of training, Deku and Bakugo basically decided to fight one more time, to show basically what they developed over time after they separated from the old man. And the first thing that Bakugo wanted to show off was that he basically made a technique that he calls kamikaze. Basically what he does is fully envelop his body into, explosions and completely explode everything around him. Deku, thanks to knowing haki, was able to basically counter it by just completely covering part of his body. what was closest to the explosions. When that happened, Deku decided to show the result of his training afterward, and showed him the one sword style special move he created. I think it's, well, what Deku called it, because he won't give them the same names. Well, for some of them he won't give the same name as Zoro, but this one he basically called it Whistling Blade, which I think in the anime Zoro called that one Lion Sing or something like that. So basically Deku showed that if he wanted to, he could kill someone. Pretty easily, in fact. Basically where they were was kind of in a wooded area, and Deku just kind of moved behind Bakugo and then cut at some trees. But the speed he used doing that basically baffled Bakugo. While they were training separately, Deku tried to increase two things: his swordsman skills, as well as his black leg style, and tried to mix them together a bit. Which really doesn't work, so it's or one or the other for now. Which might stay there like that for the rest of the what if. Just because I prefer the two styles to be separated, but still. After Deku basically showed Bakugo that, yeah, he could do that, they decided to go back to their houses and basically be done with that for now. They told each other that now that they've perfected their techniques, they should train Haki until they are able to go to a hero school. Which both of them basically decided to do fully. Since Haki mostly grows while in battle, like all types of Haki actually does that, that means they have to fight, but the harder the battle, the better it evolves. Which means they have to fight people who won't actually hold back. People who truly want to hurt them. So, they know they won't be able to train like that against one another if they want to do it perfectly. So, Bakugo decided to go and train basically, well, going in a place in town where a lot of thugs stay there, and decided that all he would use is Haki and not his explosions. So he basically was doing that for a lot of times, basically getting beaten up pretty much a lot, because most of the thugs were basically adults who or had bad devil fruits and basically became villains, but because of where they are in the part of town, basically means nobody's going to do anything unless they truly attack someone. They basically jumped on Bakugo happily, and basically they almost demolished him. For sure, at the end he used his explosions to win, but for a while, like many days, he basically got beaten up, or beaten them up, then went back home. The next day went back, and basically kept doing that. For multiple months. Basically, they're about 14 when that ends for Bakugo. Deku, what he decided to do was something different. He decided to keep observation haki on all the time. He wants to increase his haki amount, basically the amount he can control and the amount of time he can use it for. Because, yes, except Luffy, nobody really seemed to show a limit to the amount of haki they can use. And the only reason Luffy shows that is because, well, he basically uses Gear Fort, which boosts everything on his body with haki. So, Deku basically had all that to go with. He just knew that, okay, yeah, I want to increase my haki. I'm going to increase my power and my control over it. So, he basically just kept that on 24/7. Until he was basically able to do it without really thinking about it, and that it was just always on. Which took him about 2 or 3 months of training to basically allow him to have it on 24/7. Yeah, that's pretty short, but he was basically only training that, not even doing strength training or anything like that. He was only doing that. So, after basically being able to do that, he started to try and find ways to train his armament haki, which he thought if I tried to do it the same way, it might be bad for me. So he tried to find another way to use that, which he decided to only put some part of his body in constant, use. Mostly something like a part of his body that was always covered by clothes or something else. So he just kept doing that for a huge amount of time, and basically multiple time over that basically just went while training armaments and was boosting his, training his strength this time as well as his swordsman skills and blackleg style. Basically putting haki both in his blades and legs while attacking, and basically pushing himself extremely far. By the time Deku's 14, basically by the same amount of time that Bakugo is, Deku finishes training with that. Deku's armament haki is a bit less strong than Bakugo's, but in contrast, his is a lot more potent. He's able to distribute it a lot better and a lot easier. He can make it appear a lot faster than Kachan, compared to Kachan, who basically has the strength to it, but didn't train to basically activate it most of the time when he wasn't fighting. While Deku basically trained both of those and then just kind of kept going. So, not long after that, what happened was when the teacher decided to go to get in class and basically talk about career path, which he then threw the papers up and said everyone wants to be a hero. class, since remember there are literally thousands of devil fruits around, since one of the one of the most commons has 10,000 of its kind. Yeah, there are millions of devil fruits. Yes, those that are more rare have a lot less of them, but more common ones, like the Jackanomi or the Mugamonomi, which most people who have it don't use it like Luffy does. Most of them are strong and can throw a good punch, but none of them can do what Luffy does. Which is saying something. So, once he says that the two strongest in Clash would be really easy to get into UA. Bakugo and Deku. Both of them able to use all three types of Haki, one of them having a Devil Fruit, and the other one basically being, well, a straight up overpowered fighter compared to other kids. Even Bakugo has trouble fighting him if he doesn't use his Devil Fruit. So, and with a Haki that as powerful as his, it's basically like, yeah, no. Both of them can fight pretty well. But one against another, Deku's mostly coming on top. Which Bakugo doesn't like a lot, but he gets why. Mostly thanks to the amount of training Deku does, and how he trained. So he knows that, yeah, no, he worked to get that far, and he's pretty sure nobody else ever trained that hard as a kid, even though, yeah, a lot of people probably did. But Bakugo doesn't know that, so yeah. When everyone left, Deku basically started going back to his house and passed by the tunnel. He was just happy and just going until someone with the devil fruit attacked him. The devil fruit was, well, it's only in the anime. I think it's in a movie or something. It's a filler fruit, but it's a Logia type that allows you to transform into syrup. So the sludge villain is a syrup monster. No, I'm not talking about the Axolotl on Punk Hazard. That's actually a jelly liquid that ate the Axolotl fruit. What I'm talking about is a bad guy in one of the movie who's literally had the capacity to transform his body into syrup. Basically, the sludge villain had that, well, is that this time, and what he wants isn't to steal Deku's body, since he wouldn't really be able to do that. Well, he still could in theory, but what he does is basically he wants to hide from All Might. So enter the boy's body, put him unconscious. All Might would basically bring him to the hospital and then leave him there, where he would be able to escape afterward from All Might. So he basically just wants to enter Deku's lungs and body to basically get away from All Might. Deku sees him coming, thanks to observation Haki, and then use armament Haki to basically punch him away. Not long afterward, All Might arrived, saw Deku basically taking out his swords and basically coating them in Haki, while the syrup villain basically sees All Might and says, "Damn, he's here. You know, kid, it could have been so much easier if you would have just let me take your body for a spin. Now, I'll have to kill you. So, sleep tight," and basically tries to escape. All Might does basically the same thing as in the anime. He takes a smash, while the villain was basically running away from Deku, saying that he would kill him later, basically, after he escapes. The Syrup villain tries to take back human form to basically not be affected too much by All Might's punch, because it's basically a huge amount of wind, and his syrup would basically get thrown everywhere. But basically it doesn't do too much, and he basically gets, splattered and knocked unconscious. So All Might basically goes and asks if Deku is okay, which Deku's basically baffled that it's All Might, and basically asks for an autograph, which All Might does, and then All Might asks him why did he have a sword in his mouth, which Deku starts to explain about, his fighting style, the three-sword style, which basically he has a sword in his mouth as well, which he basically trained and was pretty powerful at it. He has moves for one-sword style, two-sword style, and three-sword style, but he prefers three-sword style, or his black-legged. So, All Might ask him, "Do you have a devil fruit?" To which Deku answers, "No, why?" With All Might saying, I just wanted to know. You see, I found this fruit not long ago. Since I already have mine, I didn't really eat it. I knew I couldn't let anyone bad have it, so I kept it around. Would you like to have it?" Deku looks at the fruit and doesn't recognize it, asking what type of fruit is that? Which All Might says he doesn't actually know. He found the fruit not long ago, actually, but he doesn't even know the name of it. Deku asks him if it's really okay, which All Might says, you can take it, or you can take it and eat it, or you can take it and give it to someone else you know. But honestly, I think you're pretty powerful. Any devil fruit would give you a lot more strength, you know? Which Deku basically looks at it and just thinks, it's true, I could be more powerful. And then just started thinking, but wait. Depending on what the fruit is, it could be bad. What if I can't use my fighting styles anymore? All of that training for nothing. I don't want that. If the devil fruit is useless to me, what would I do? I don't even know what it does. And then basically tells it to All Might, explaining him the problem. Which All Might smiles. Until he starts coughing and realizes that, oh no, my time limit. He goes to try and jump away, but Deku asks him if it's really okay, because he really doesn't want a devil fruit that would render him weaker. or even just make all of his training useless, which All Might knows he has to answer something. He goes to open his mouth, and suddenly a cloud appears around him, and Small Might form. Deku kind of screams a bit at first, until he basically just says, "Are you okay? What happened?" With All Might basically saying that he's okay. Then asking Izuku if he's okay with the form, which Deku says, well, if your devil fruit has a time limit, it's not really your fault, right? But then he just realized that All Might spat blood, and just starts freaking out like, wait, whoa, why do you spat blood? Are you okay? Do you need to go to the hospital? With All Might basically telling him that it's okay. He just got in an injury a while back and basically shows his scar and says that he can still use his devil fruit, just on a limited time now. Deku then says that isn't there anyone who could help him? Which All Might explains that he knows that there is a special type of devil fruit. Well, a special devil fruit that basically allows healing to an extreme amount. The problem is that those fruits are extremely powerful and uncommon. What he knows about is that there's around, and this time it's not a precise number, there is around 5,000 of these. And it's basically one of the fruit that the Tantaras had on Dressrosa. The girl who could basically heal people by crying on them and making them feel all better, or use her second ability that allowed her to heal someone for 3 minutes, and then they went back to how hurt they were before. All Might talks about how he basically knows of that fruit, but he never met someone with it. Deku asks if that fruit could be one of those, and All Might says he doesn't know. Deku says he could try and eat it to see if it is, because if he can help him, he would try anything. Which All Might laughs and tell him that the fruit is all his if he wants it. And if it is, well, thanks for the healing. Which Deku then grabs it from All Might's hand, after All Might basically, well, give it to him, and bites it. Deku finds the taste horrible. He swallows and basically feels nothing at first. Then All Might, Deku asks, okay, so how did the healing devil fruit work? Which All Might says that you have to, that's mostly, from what he knows, crying basically on the person who is hurt can help him heal. Which Deku basically tries to force himself to cry, basically literally taking out one of his swords and basically cutting himself a bit, which All Might sees and basically tells him not to do that, but he does it anyway, and basically lets out some tears that fall on All Might's arm. He didn't heal. All Might said it was okay and that he would find soon what the devil fruit gave him. Deku was a bit sad that he wasn't able to help All Might. But All Might told him that it's okay. He has a friend who has a mythical Zoan. Her name is Recovery Girl. She has the Phoenix Fruit. Her flames are able to heal people pretty well, just not fully. So yeah, Recovery Girl still exists. She just has a healing fruit, well, a combat type fruit that can heal people, but she doesn't really go in battle. She mostly uses the transformations actually to move around. But still. So, All Might tells Deku that if he wants to, he's going to tell him a secret. He's going to go to UA next year. So, if he can get there, they'll speak again, which Deku is happy about. Until All Might just realize one thing. Well, no, actually. Afterward, Deku leaves. Not long after that, All Might finally realized that the syrup villain, where the hell is he? Which, basically, he was running around and found his way to Bakugo. The villain started attacking. All Might heard the explosion, Deku heard the explosion, and they basically went towards it. When they were there, All Might saw that the syrup villain basically had a hostage and saying that if anyone basically approached, he would kill him. Bakugo's explosion were able to harm him this time. The problem is that because of how the syrup, well, that it's literally syrup, yes, fire burns it, but an explosion in itself, yeah, nah, it's not strong enough. It does move him around, but it's not able to push him away completely. All Might knows he doesn't have any more time, and isn't able to do anything. Deku, which is bummed out, but not for the same reason, as in the anime, basically walked towards the explosion. Since he walked towards it just thinking that Gachan got into another fight, and basically multiple people were looking at it, so he basically went to see it. When he got there, he saw the syrup villain, and then he saw Bakugo. Bakugo wasn't calm enough to use Haki correctly. He was able to keep the sludge villain away from, well, killing him. But the sludge villain was still on him. Since Bakugo's armament Haki is pretty strong in itself. The problem is that, just like I said, he's mostly able to put it around some parts of his body, not all around it, and use it perfectly compared to Deku. So, he was kind of at a disadvantage, and actually in quite a lot of danger. Which Deku knew that. He was ready to take out his swords because practically nobody was doing anything. Not because nobody had a power to do anything about it. Many heroes, almost all of them have Haki. Since basically, to enter a hero school, you don't need to have it, but they teach it to you, and if you're not able to use it by the end of your first year, yeah, no, they kind of just push you away. Because if you're not able to use that, and that you don't have a devil fruit yourself, any devil fruit user who are Logias or anything like that, you won't be able to do shit to them. Literally. So, yeah, they kind of need to learn it. And if they're not able to, well, yeah. So, every hero basically has it. It's just that none of them want to try anything because they're scared for Bakugo's life. Which most people would get why. Since, it's kind of dangerous. So, after a while for the heroes, Deku basically arrived there, saw everything, and almost immediately just jumped in. All Might saw him and was just thinking, is he crazy? He just got a new devil fruit, doesn't know what power he has, and now he's just jumping in battle again. He's going to die. Even with his haki, he wasn't able to do anything the last time. What could he do now? Which he learned pretty fast. Deku still didn't know what his devil fruit would do. But the sludge villain tried to attack Deku. Which basically what happened to Deku was just that he saw the attack coming and was just not afraid. He was ready for it. He was going to save his friend, and there was no other option. So, the moment the attack got close to him, Deku just thought that the devil fruit has to be good. Anything. A Logia, a Paramecia, a Zoan. It has to activate. He doesn't know why it wouldn't. And suddenly, when the attack was right in front of him, nothing. Didn't feel anything hurting, or even as if anything was actually getting touched. What everyone else saw, though, is Deku's head basically being ripped off. But what they saw was a bit different from what they were waiting to see. There was no blood. Deku actually just thought that everything was going to be okay. And so, the devil fruit basically just was activated. Deku got basically blasted by a little blade of syrup that the syrup villain made. It basically passed right through his head, and Deku turned into Mochi. Because yes, the fruit that All Might had found was the Mochi fruit. I actually had a long, discussion with 3 people before actually getting to use this one. I had a script for him having a Zoan or a normal Paramecia. In the end, he has a special Paramecia which is, well, the only that we know about. But still. So, when we finally got to, well, Deku opening his eyes, he just felt as if something was wrong, and then he just saw his body still running towards the sludge villain, while his head was behind. All Might just knew that, okay, that's his devil fruit. Which everybody just thought just afterward. So, okay, he has his devil fruit to fight it. Which, the moment Deku had opened his eyes, he basically just thought, I have to get back to my body, and basically just kind of the head turned into white mochi, and suddenly went straight to Deku's body, and basically just popped back as a head, which he then put hockey on all of his blades, put one in his mouth, and used three-sword style to basically blast the sludge villain with, well, the 80-pound, I think it's the 180-pound Phoenix, or something like that. It's basically the first type that Zoro shows us of his Phoenix attack. So, yeah. Deku is only at that point, and it's only because of how much weight there is in the swords. Swords. Yeah, sorry about that. So, Deku basically slashed at the sludge villain, hurting him a lot, making sure to not touch anywhere near Bakugo. So, the sludge villain basically had a hole in him. Bakugo was practically free, which Deku basically grabbed him and told him that this is why you train you train to have more, well, hockey control. Which Bakugo then just told him to shut it, and basically went with Deku. The syrup villain basically got back together. Not truly, but basically he kind of was ready to attack back. But All Might saw how Deku basically, well, what Deku basically did, and the moment the sludge syrup villain was about to attack, All Might just said, "Take this, smash!" Basically appearing in front of Deku and Bakugo, and basically blasting the sludge villain away, with everyone cheering him on. Minihiro basically went and told Deku that what he did was, well, completely dumb, with Deku saying that, yeah, it's true, but still, he needed to save his friend, which All Might basically grabbed him and said that without him, this young man would have been in a lot of trouble. He is a good kid, and he should keep training. He has to go in the hero course. While saying that, another thing was in All Might's mind, which was that he gave this kid a fruit. He didn't even know what it was, but he still took it. Bakugo saw it too, but waited for basically after the battle before asking Deku, which before he was able to ask, All Might said, young one, can we talk in private? I want to say something to you." So Deku basically accepted and went with All Might. Bakugo wanted to follow, but All Might basically asked for it to be truly private, so Bakugo kind of just stopped following. All Might and Deku went basically somewhere else, and All Might asked Deku if he was okay with the power he got, which Deku said that he was fine with having the devil fruit. Even though he wasn't able to help All Might, he still was able to do some good. And with the devil fruit itself, he was also able to help, well, save someone, even though All Might still is injured. So, All Might then told him that, basically asked him, do you want to know what my devil fruit is? Which Deku's eyes basically widens, and he asks, are you truly going to tell that secret to me? Which All Might says, yes, I think you are worthy. Which the wording that he said basically made Deku think, worthy? Why? So All Might then tell him, you know that there are some people who are making false devil fruit, right? Which Deku says, yeah, the smiles. All Might says, you see, those are all incomplete. But the reason they are being made is because they're trying to replicate two devil fruits that were created like that. Which Deku says, wait, what? All Might then start explaining that, you see, the devil fruit I have is actually one of the two first smiles. The two complete versions. His fruit is called one for all fruits. The fruit allows the user to stockpile power, and there's two ways to make someone else have it. Give part of your DNA in different means to someone else, passing the fruit's power to someone else, but gradually, or dying and the fruit gets reincarnated, but keeping all of the added power that the previous user had. They don't know yet that the devil fruit capacities are also added to it, so Deku's going to have, well, if you don't count All Might, who basically didn't have a fruit before being given that by Nana. So every other users before him, except the first user, who basically was given the fruit first and then was told how it works. So, except those two, every other one had a devil fruit before it was given to them. Or before they gave it away. So, Deku will have his own devil fruit and 7 other powers given into him. They don't know that yet, but All Might basically tells him that he wants to give Deku the fruit basically making him have his own power. He then tells Deku that he will need to be trained before that, though. Because remember, in the anime, All Might is the strongest hero, and is extremely strong in comparison to that world. In this one, since the power of all the strength of normal people is already extremely higher than that, All Might's power is even stronger. So, in this, one Thrall in itself is a lot more powerful than the one in the show. Which means that Deku will need a strong body that is even stronger to attain the same amount of power. Deku gets told that he will need to train because it can be extremely dangerous. So, Deku accepts to train and take this fruit. I'm going to end it here. In the next part, it's going to be the training, what he tells Bakugo, and then the entrance exam. Hope you liked it, leave a like if you did. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I'm going to leave a link to my Discord in the description. So yeah, Natsu, out.